What's up, leaders? Great to be with you again. Thanks for tuning in today. I've learned something about you guys. Leaders like you, leaders like me, we're different. We're a little bit weird. we think differently than other people. We act differently than other people. We actually see the world differently than followers do. It affects almost everything about us. Now, I know a lot of people believe that what makes a leader different is the skills that they've learned or the experience that they have. Maybe they have just some gifts that they were born with. Some people have said that, like you're just a born leader. So a lot of people think that that's what makes leaders different. And in reality, I believe that our leadership and what separates leaders from followers comes down to one word. You ready for it? Write this down. Attitude. Leaders have a different attitude. People can have the same skill set, the same level of experience, the same gifting, but what makes leaders different is the attitude that they have. Attitude affects your vision as an individual and as a leader of a team or a small group or a ministry or a leader in your business. It affects your vision. It shapes your focus. It determines your outlook. It makes your purpose different than everything else. I mean, listen to this. Here's how to connect it. I believe your attitude affects your actions, and your actions affect your accomplishments. And that's what leaders are looking for. We're looking for results. We're looking for accomplishments in our team members and in our personal lives. And so I believe, really do believe this, if you want to get stuff done, if you want to make an impact, if you want to change the culture or change the system, or if you want to lead people, the best thing that you can focus on right now is your attitude. That's what I want to talk about today, the importance of attitude and really what kind of attitude that a leader has. Let me share this quote with you. William Lames, he's the father of modern psychology, said this: "The greatest discovery of my generation is that humans can alter their lives by altering their attitude of mind." He's actually pretty late to the party, because what science and what leaders today are realizing is that the truths that they are all of a sudden understanding and taking grasp of are truths that have been communicated in Scripture thousands of years ago. Here's how King Solomon said it, the same exact thing that William Lames is now coming upon and thinking that he's so smart and so cutting edge in modern psychology. King Solomon said it way before he did. Proverbs 23:7 says, "As a man thinks in his heart, so he is." Welcome to the party, everyone. Here, before we get started into the text today, I want to get the ball rolling with your first set of questions. You can hit pause on the video to watch these or pull up the PDF, but check out these questions. Here's what I want to do just to get the ball rolling in your mind and in your group setting if you're watching it with a group. First question is this. Write down the name of a person that you respect and that you admire, and then write down why you admire that person. What are the characteristics? What are the traits? Why would you admire that person that you admire? And the second question to follow up on that would be this. Now, look at the qualities that you wrote down about that person. Write down those qualities and put them into three different categories. Do those qualities have to do with their attitude as an individual, with their abilities, their skills as an individual, or does it have to do with their appearance as an individual? I would be willing to bet that the people that you most admire, you admire them because of their attitude. Take a minute and write those things out and brainstorm why you like the people that you do, and really what is it about them that makes them stick out in your mind as leaders and as team members. So let's talk about your attitude from a biblical perspective. Let's learn from some of the great leaders that had incredible attitudes and how it shaped and changed their life in the culture that they found themselves in. I want to read from the book of Numbers, chapter 13. It's the end of the book. It's a very familiar story, maybe to some of you, about the 12 spies that Moses sent out into the promised land. One of the greatest leaders of the Old Testament sent out a group of 12 spies in the beginning of Numbers 13. He says, I want you to go into this land that God has promised us, and I want you to scout it out. Come back, tell me what you see, what was good, what was bad, what was ugly. Give me your perspective on it. Help me to understand what we're getting ready to walk into in this promised land. And so he sent out these 12 spies. Their names can be found listed out and who they are at the beginning of the book of Numbers. And it reminded me of something really powerful, I think, when you see this story. You're going to realize that as a leader, your attitude as you begin a task will affect its outcome more than anything else. Do you realize that? The outcome that you are trying to produce will not just be produced by hard work, not just produced by the experience or the skills that you have in your life, but sometimes even before you start the battle, you will win it or lose it based on your attitude. And these 12 spies are a great example. Before they even went into the promised land, before Moses even talked about making the people journey into this land, he sent 12 spies out, and here is where they returned. Here was the report that they gave from Numbers chapter 13, starting in verse 26. They came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the desert of Paran. There they reported to them and to the whole assembly and showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses this account. Here's what they said. We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is its fruit. And Scripture says they brought back figs and pomegranates and big, huge clusters of grapes. It was their way of saying, man, this land is loaded. This land is awesome. It's got everything that we ever dreamed about. Verse 28. But, that's a big but there. We're getting ready to see an attitude change. But the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We even saw descendants of Anak there. Anak is the family line of Goliath. So they said, man, we saw giant warriors, 7, 8, 9-foot men with nothing but muscle, trained killers. That's who we saw there. The Amalekites live in the Negev. The Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites live in the hill country. And the Canaanites live near the sea and along the Jordan. We're surrounded. There's so many of them. There's nowhere we're going to be able to go. We can't sneak around them. We can't come in the back door. We're hosed, Moses. That's what we saw. Then Caleb, one of the two spies, silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go up and take the possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we cannot attack these people. They are stronger than we are. And they spread amongst the Israelites a bad report about the land that they had explored. They said, the land we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are of great size. These people are huge. Muscles, huge. Height, huge. Power, unbelievably huge. When we saw the Nephilim there, the descendants of Anak that came from the Nephilim, when we saw the giants like Goliath, we seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. 10 spies came back. Now, what's interesting here is all 12 spies stood in the same land. All 12 spies saw the same thing with their own eyes. They weren't in different places. Like, they didn't split up and Joshua and Caleb saw one thing and the other 10 spies saw another thing. They were in the same place, seeing the same thing, but came back with a very different report. You know what was different? Attitude. Joshua and Caleb had a very different attitude than the rest of the 10. And even before the Israelites went into the land, according to the 10 other spies, they had already lost the battle. There's no way we can do it. Only 2 of them came up to Moses, Joshua and Caleb, and said, God is with us and we can do it. Here's your second set of questions before we kind of break down the response from Joshua and Caleb and what makes Joshua and Caleb different than the other 10 spies. I want to throw these 2 questions off of you. You can hit pause when the questions pop up or pull up the PDF. Look at this. What's your mindset when you are faced with a difficult task? As a leader, as an individual, what is your mindset when you understand for the first time that you have a barrier in front of you, that you have a difficulty a hard task that is in front of you. So which one are you? Are you confident? Are you full of faith? Are you full of hope? Are you optimistic about what you face? Or are you negative? Are you doubtful? Are you worried that you'll never see results? Do you give up even before you start? Which one are you when you face difficulties in life? Second question is this: do you agree with the statement that the battles that we face are oftentimes won or lost even before we fight them? That our attitude will determine the success even before we enter the battle, even before we start working on the problem or the task. Do you agree with that statement? Man, what does that say about the power of attitude? Third question is this: if you could just sum up your attitude about life in general in one word, what would it be? Just one word, like this summarizes you to a T. If somebody were to ask, like, give me one word description of the attitude of this person, what would you say? What would people say about you? Answer those three questions real quick before we look at the difference between the 2 spies and the 10 spies and how attitude changes everything. Listen, attitudes are contagious. So here's a question: is yours worth catching? If someone were around you right now, would they want to wear a mask and put hand sanitizer on because they would be scared to catch the attitude that you have? Or would people be looking at you and say, man, whatever attitude that is, whatever mindset, whatever approach to life that he has or that she has, I want that. Like, teach that to me. Is that transmittable? Like, can you pass that on to me? Can I learn from that? Look at what happened when the 12 spies got sent out and Moses sent them out into the promised land. Joshua and Caleb came back with a good report, and the other 10 spies came back with a very different report. Let me give you the difference. Like, just take a moment and look at the difference between what Joshua and Caleb saw and what the other 10 spies saw. It all has to do with attitude. Joshua and Caleb, when they went into the land, they saw the fruit of the land. They saw all of the great things about the land. The other 10 spies, they saw all the problems. They couldn't even see the great things because all they could focus on was the problems. Joshua and Caleb, number 2, Joshua and Caleb saw themselves in God's hands. God can do it. God can help us. God can deliver us. Unfortunately, the other 10 spies saw themselves in their own hands, which made them appear very weak and very feeble and very overwhelmed. The third thing, Joshua and Caleb were very optimistic about the future. We can do it. God is with us. God will help us. God can fight our battles for us. The other 10 spies were expecting the worst. They were pessimistic. They would say, well, we're just trying to be realistic here. There's a lot of problems. There are a lot of big people. There are a lot of difficulties that we will be facing. Those were the difference. The fourth difference was this: Joshua and Caleb were willing to step out in faith. They said, they weren't denying the problems. They were just saying, we're going to face those problems with faith. They had a totally different attitude. But the bad attitude of the 10 spies prevented them from making any type of progress. They said, step out in faith, please. We need to step back. We need to never go in that land again. Those people were huge. Those problems were big. Here's a big difference. While the 10 spies looked at Moses and said, why in the world would we put ourselves through that? Joshua and Caleb said, why not? Why not do what God has called us to do? Why not meet the problem head on? Why not walk forward in faith? Which one are you asking you? Are you a why kind of person? Or do you look in faith and say, why not? If God's called us to it and God affords us the opportunity, why not chase it down? Well, here's the sad reality. It's a really challenging thing for me, something that I've had to wrestle with in my own leadership. Joshua and Caleb were outvoted. The other 10 spies began to spread the difficulty, the hardships amongst the people. And when they took a vote, the majority of the people voted not to go into the promised land. They didn't have the right attitude. And do you realize as a result of that vote, 10 spies versus 2, bad attitude versus the right attitude, as a result of that vote, an entire generation of people missed out on what God had planned for them. You want to talk about some high consequences for your attitude. Did you realize that? Did you know that your attitude can limit God? I know some of you are thinking, no, God can never be limited. We could never do anything that would derail God's plan. I disagree. Absolutely, our attitude can affect what happens in our life. See, God can have some incredible plans for you. God can have powerful plans for your life. He could have a huge future for your life right now and for your leadership. But the reality is your attitude determines your destiny. Not your skills, not your experience. Attitude, even before you realize, even before you walk into the plan that God has for you, your attitude affects your destiny. It affects your future. It affects what you can do. Please, 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 please do not miss out on what God wants to do in your life, in your small group, in your area of leadership, in your ministry, in your business, at your workplace, in your city. Please do not miss out on the plan that God has for you because you have the wrong attitude. You can absolutely miss out on everything that God wanted you to experience. An entire generation died off. God's plan was for them to go into the promised land and experience the blessing. But because of their poor attitude, an entire generation missed out on God's incredible plan. Let's ask ourselves some questions right here. Third set of questions is this. Number one, what is my usual attitude before trying something new? This was something new for them. They had never faced these people. They had never entered into this land before. And when we are faced with a new opportunity, maybe with an uncertain future, something that is different or change, what is your attitude? What's your mindset going into something new? The second question, are there certain new experiences that make you have a negative feeling? When you talk about new or change, do you automatically bristle at it? Do you automatically say, no change, nothing new, no change, let's just keep it the way we are? Does that affect your attitude when you are presented with change or something new like these Israelites were presented? Does your attitude, third question, does your attitude hinder your success with your relationship with God, with your relationship with others, in your marriage, in your ministry, in your leadership? Like, come on, do some soul searching here. Can you attach your attitude to the successes that you've experienced? Or are they more linked to some of the failures that you've experienced as an individual? Fourth question, in this particular story, come on now, honestly, who do you identify with the most? The 10 spies or Joshua and Caleb? Are you the person that just looks at it and says, let's go, if God's called us, let's make it happen, let's do it, full of faith, let's seize the opportunity. Oh, there's something new, there's something uncharted territory, let's take it. Or do you automatically see the problems and everything that it's going to cost you and everything that could possibly go wrong, and you're asking yourself the question, why are we doing this? Why would it even matter? Which one in the story are you? Last question, how does it make you feel that your attitude has the ability to derail God's plan for your life? Man, for me, that just, that really hits me hard. Man, I feel the weight of that as a leader and as a follower of Jesus. Man, like, does that statement challenge you? Take a minute, just pause the video, look at the questionnaire and ask those questions of yourself, and maybe share the answers with your group. Let me close it with this. Ideally, as a leader, you are looking for people to add to your team You are looking, if you're a business leader, you're looking to hire employees, or you're looking to add volunteers to your team that have both of these things. They have the right attitude, but they also have the right aptitude. They have skills, they have experience, like they're smart, they have intellectual abilities. Ideally, in a perfect world, you're looking for people that excel in both of those things. The reality is oftentimes it's really hard to find people that have both of those things. So I'm going to say something that maybe you don't agree with, maybe you never thought of. I know it goes counterintuitive to regular thinking, but as a leader, I am more interested in people that have the right attitude than I am that have the right aptitude. I would rather bring someone on our staff, not that has the highest skill level, but that has the right attitude. If I had to choose between the two, it's not about the people that know the most. It's about the people that have the right attitude. And I want to give you a couple of reasons why, just to challenge you a little bit. I want to give you a couple of reasons why I believe if you're a business owner, if you are a leader in a ministry, if you're a pastor, any type of leadership that you may be over, I'm going to tell you why. If I were you, I would look for people, for volunteers, for followers, for employees that are all about attitude and not just about aptitude, if you couldn't find people that were both. Here's the first thing. It's easier to train skills than it is to train attitude. You've probably heard that before. That's nothing new. I can teach someone how to do anything. If they have the wrong attitude, though, they won't want to learn. Even the easiest skills are very hard to teach someone if they have the wrong attitude. In fact, it can be impossible for someone to learn if they have the right or the wrong attitude. But for a person that has the right attitude, that changes their motivation. That changes their ability to adapt. It actually, a person with the right attitude is more open to learning a new set of skills. Like they'll view it as a challenge. They'll view it as an opportunity instead of a burden or something that weighs them down. And so I'm looking for people with the right attitude. I'm not looking for how much you know, how experienced you are, how smart you are. I can teach you all of that on our level. But the person with the right attitude, you can't teach attitude. They got to have it. So look for the people with the right attitude versus just looking for the people that are the smartest or have the most experience. Secondly is this, attitude impacts overall performance. Nothing impacts results and the overall performance of a team more so than attitude. Think about Joshua and Caleb. You want to know something that changed the trajectory of the people of Israel for an entire generation? It was attitude. You want to say something that either set themselves for success or set themselves up for incredible failure? It was attitude. Nothing impacts performance like attitude. With the wrong attitude, people will never fit into your organization. They'll never fit into your team. They'll never feel like they're a part of the family. It's just like bad attitudes are like trying to stick a round peg in a square hole. You're going to beat up the peg and you're going to destroy the hole. People with the wrong attitude, they will clash with you as the leader. They will clash with the organization. They will tear the team apart. You'll have no continuity. You'll have no chemistry with your team. They will complain constantly. They will have an impact on overall performance, not only on them, but everyone on your team as well. So think about that. Attitude impacts overall performance, not just their skills and experience that impact performance. The third thing is this, the right attitude can overcome obstacles. Boy, what a story of Joshua and Caleb. Their attitude, their faith, their outlook, their mindset produced a very different result. They were willing to look at the problems that they faced and say, no, we can do it. We got this. We can handle it. The people with the wrong attitude said, well, we just can't do it. The problems are too big. We might as well just turn around. We might as well not even start. The right attitude can overcome obstacles. We're always going to face challenges as leaders. Your team will always face difficult times. And it's in those moments that the people with the right attitude will face obstacles with determination, with tenacity, with resilience, and all of those things will help them move forward and accomplish what God has called them to do. Having the right skills, but lacking the will to use them, the attitude, is not going to help you overcome challenges in life and achieve ultimate success. I'm telling you guys, attitude is important. As leaders, you better check yours. Look back over that story, answer those questions together, and just really come to grips with how important the attitude is of a leader. Check yours. Get it right. It's going to help you so much and impact your ability to lead and to help others accomplish the mission that God has called you to. Good luck.